So sit your hips down halfway and you're just going to roll the arms back. So you're going to take the inhale, arms go up, exhale, go all the way back. Okay, so you're going to inhale, reach up towards the ceiling. Exhale, bring the hands forward. Now sit nice and low because you're warming up those hips as well. Inhale up, roll those shoulders back. Exhale, come forward. Now, if you can't feel your chest stretching, or if it's obviously it's more flexible, just go a little bit narrower on those bands and really just gently pull outwards on the bands, and it opens up your sternum that little bit better. So inhale as you bring it over your head. Exhale as you roll it forward. Good. Now do 2 more of these. Inhale, roll all the way back. Stretch out those chest muscles. And then inhale back, up and over. And then hold this position. Now, sink down as low as you can. Take those hands up to say chin height and lift the heels off the ground. Now, straight away, you'll feel those inner thighs waking up. Now, work on the balance and just slowly press out and squeeze the muscles at the back of your shoulder blades. So sink those hips down a little bit lower, squat down. Keep the balance. It's kind of hard to stay up on the tippy toes. And push out for 4. Squeeze those shoulders back for 3. Keeping the muscles nice and tight. Last 2. Squeeze back. And then last 1. And then release those bands. So chuck them to the side and let's walk the feet out even further and come down. Now again, if you can't get your hand to your foot, put your elbow to your knee. But if you're comfortable putting your hand all the way to the floor, do so. So left hand to the ceiling. Now pause here for a second. Roll the left hand back behind you so you get your shoulder to open up as well. Then take that arm over your head into the big stretch. Let's drop that left hand onto the floor so you're pivoting onto your toes on the back foot. And you're going to twist that right arm to the ceiling, just opening up that lower back. Slowly go across the other side. So over to that left foot. Now, same thing. Push your hips forward towards me. Take your right hand up to the ceiling. So roll that arm back. Nice big stretch. Take it over your head. And then drop the right hand onto the floor. Pivot and twist that left hand to the ceiling. So just rotate as far as you can. Do 2 more all the way across again. So back over to the right foot, left hand to the ceiling. Good. Take it over your head. Nice big stretch. Drop down on the left hand, go up onto your tippy toes and twist that right arm to the ceiling. Just check your lower backs with that rotation. Now this is the last one. Go all the way over, bending that left knee, twisting the right arm up. Rotate that arm up. Good. Reach that arm over your head. Nice big stretch. And drop onto your right hand and take that left hand towards the ceiling. Good. Now, drop the hands down, drop your knee onto the floor here, and just put your 2 hands in your front knee, just for a little bit of support. Now, if you sit up here with your hips over your knees, you're not stretching these hip flexors, so I want you to press your pelvis forward and actually think about squeezing your glutes. When you squeeze your butt, you open up this hip flexor a little bit better. Just hold that stretch. So I'm going to take the same hand, same leg up to the ceiling. So I'm taking my left hand up, but you guys are taking your right hand up, I think, as you press your pelvis forward. Hold that stretch for 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's change the other side. So same thing. Drop your knee onto the floor. Push your hips forward. So again, if you're sitting upright, you're not stretching the hip flexor. Push your pelvis forward. Bend this front knee to drag you forward. Take the same hand, same leg up towards the ceiling. So you're opening up that lower back. And again, just gently pull those 2 muscles in for lower back support. Hold it for 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring it back into center. Now let's take those legs nice and wide. Put your left hand onto the floor and twist that right arm up. So turn your head, look up towards that ceiling, open up that lower back. And then slowly change, rotate from that lower back. Turn your head to look up. And then slowly drop those hands, walk your feet together, pulling your toe muscles in as you do so, as you roll that spine back up, and 2 ankles all the way in. So feet touching, hands onto your legs, chin to your chest, and only go down to the point where you feel your hamstring stretching. Don't go all the way to the floor thinking you have to do that, okay? So bend your right leg, keep that left leg straight, and just read all along your spine, along your hips, along your hamstrings, and feel the tight areas. Straighten out that right leg, bend your left leg, compare right leg to left and see the difference. Now as we straighten the knees, we squeeze those thighs and we roll that spine back up, and we bring your heels together, toes out, curl down again. So hands onto your legs, chin to your chest, come down slowly into that stretch. Look at those kneecaps and bend the right leg, keeping that left leg straight. And then straighten that right leg, bend your left leg, nice and gentle. As you straighten out the thighs, squeeze your leg muscles to roll the spine back up, and then turn those toes in, heels out. So last one, hands onto your legs, chin to your chest, curl down slowly into that stretch, looking at the kneecaps, bending that right leg and keeping that left knee straight. And then straighten that right leg, bend your left leg. And as you straighten out those thighs, roll back up slowly. And then sit down and get comfortable. So we're going to start with our gurney balls. Now, if you don't have a small ball, you can definitely use the big ball. You can use a chair, or you can just put a cushion underneath your heels. We're going to start by activating the posterior chain, the glutes first. So I'm going to get you to lie back on the floor with your heels up on top of that ball. So heels up on top of that ball. Good, so get nice and comfortable. Now again, the first one, I'm just going to get you to lift, no instruction, to get you to read your spine and feel where your tight and sore areas are. So again, even if it's not a ball, if you have, like, you can use your big ball, you can use your chair, or a big thick cushion to put your heels up on top of. Okay, so all you're going to do is you're going to put your hands onto the floor, and you're just going to lift your butt off the ground like you would naturally. So lift those hips up. And then you just read along your muscles, okay? You check if your hamstrings are sore. Are you feeling anything into the glutes? Are you feeling it maybe all in that low back muscle, okay? And then we drop back down onto the ground. So we just sequence now. We teach the butt to fire up first. So turn your toes out like bunny ears, like little Charlie Chaplin feet. So rotate your feet outwards. So it brings in those external rotators, okay? So remember the money drop. Your money has spilled out of your pockets. What I want you to do is use your butt cheeks to gather the money up together and squeeze your butt first. Then lift the money off the floor. So you're activating the glutes first before you rely on those lower back muscles second. And then you just gently drop your tailbone onto the floor. Okay, so we're just waking up the glutes this morning. So inhale, and as you exhale, you squeeze the butt first before you lift. Then you lift second, and you squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. You feel along your body to see where you're feeling it. Mainly glutes, maybe less on that lower back. And then you drop that tailbone onto the floor. So let's do another 4. Inhale, exhale, turn those toes out, squeeze the butt. Lift the tailbone off the ground, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And your inner thighs are glued together. And then you drop back down, you soften your lower back into that mat. Last 3, inhale, brace the tummy. Exhale, lift that butt up. Now again, you're squeezing your butt before you lift that butt. So you activate before you lift. Slowly drop back down, so soften your lower back into that mat. Last 2, inhale. Exhale, squeeze the butt, lift up. So you're firing or sequencing that glute muscle first. Really good for those lower backs. Slowly release, drop the butt back onto the floor. This is the last one. We're going to again fire up the glutes first. Squeeze the butt. Lift those hips up and hold that position. So your butt is up, whether your heels are on the ball, the couch, the chair, whatever it is, stay up there. Now, let's check the balance. Let's take the hands up towards the ceiling. So float those arms up, and you're pulling those two muscles in. You're keeping your butt off the floor. You might be feeling in the hamstrings. All right, Iris? You might be feeling those back muscles starting to wake up. That's fine. Just keep holding, breathing. Maybe do a few pulses. See if you can pulse. And let's do 4, 3, 2, 1, and then we drop those hips back on the floor. Pull your knees in just to relax those hamstrings, relax those glutes, and just kind of rock your lower backs from side to side. So we just woke up that posterior chain, which is basically calves, hamstrings, glutes, low back area. So let's open it up and stretch it out now. So move the ball on the cushion out of the way, sit up nice and tall, and let's grab those bands. So hook your right foot only into these bands, guys. So we are going to do our roll up. Kick that ball over there. We're going to do our roll ups, and we're going to do the hamstring opener. So we're just opening up what we've just woke up, basically. So when we go forward, take a short grip on the bands halfway down, curl your toes, and just pull. So you feel the stretch. You're not trying to get your head to your knees. You're just feeling that stretch to your hamstrings. Now we lift the leg up. So remember this one, we pull that leg up as high as we can. We draw the twin muscles in and we roll down. So we're softening the back into the floor. Then we get the elbows to the ground if possible. So elbows on the floor, and we stay here. Now I'm going to get you to swing from side to side here. So you're going to go out to the side, all the way across the other side 6 times every single time. So it's a really good posterior chain opener. So 2 more, 1 to the right, 1 to the left. And then we lift the head up, we inhale. Now we pull the belly button down, we exhale, kick down onto the band and roll back up. So let the foot, let the leg and the band lift you up. So there's less effort on those abdominals. So stretch the hamstrings, inhale. Little bit of abdominal work here. Exhale, come down, do not collapse. Go down slowly, slowly, slowly. Yes, perfect. Don't collapse. Elbows to the floor, swing that leg to the side, other side. So you're really working on hip mobility here, really opening up all the fibers of those hamstrings. 2 more swings, as far as you can, as long as you've got room. Bring it back to center, lift the head. Now inhale, pull down those tummy muscles. Exhale, kick the legs. Not too fast. You're not trying to kick through the wall. You're just going to bring yourself up off that mat. Little pull with the arms. And then we're going to inhale, lift the spine, lift that leg, and watch the belly button. So again, you should be able to pull the TVA muscle and pull that belly button in towards your spine as you come down. Hamstring opener, 6 sways from right to left. And it's just starting to soften out your tight muscles. That's it. Last 3 and 2 and 1. Lift the head, pull the belly button down. Now look at your tummy muscles when you're coming up. Press your foot into the band and try roll back up. And if you're still struggling, you can always put a cushion behind your lower back, because remember, it's not the abdominals that are weak, it's the back being super tight that you can't do the roll up. So this is the last one on the right leg. So let's come down through the spine very slowly, pulling the abdominals in, and then elbows to the floor and sway again 6 times from side to side. Just feel the tightness in the hamstrings. You'll know the difference when you go across the body. It's that little bit worse. Last 2. Now on your last one, swing that right leg all the way over to the left and just stay there. Just swing it over to the left. Hold that position. Good. Now keep your right elbow on the floor. Curl your toes so your heel bone is pointing at that far wall. Hold that stretch. Now wiggle your feet. So imagine your foot is a hand and I want you to wave your hand. Keep that knee dead straight and just wiggle that foot. And it softens the fascia through the calf muscles into the side of the knee, down through your IT band and hopefully into the back of those hamstrings. Now we're going to do a little bit of hip mobility here. Bend the knee into your chest. So remember our figure 4 where we're grabbing the 2 ends of the bands now and pulling it to the left shoulder. Okay, so this is the right leg, right hip we're opening. We're going to pull the band to the left shoulder and then we're going to press it out and across the body. So I'm going to go this way so you can see it. So we're going to press it across the body like our IT band stretch. Then we bend the knee into the chest as best you can. Exhale, press. Inhale, pull it in. Exhale, press out. And this is really good for lateral movement to the hips because we don't move our legs obviously like this normally. So let's do 4 of these. Kick across the body, but you're not kind of rolling the body over to that left-hand side. 3, press that heel bone at that far wall. Last 2. Good. And then last one. Press across, bend your knee into your chest, pull on that band so you feel the opening of this right hip. Now, keep your shin parallel to the ceiling, okay? So imagine you're lying inside a box. I want you to take this leg, instead of kicking it up and down, I want you to kick across. Now, imagine your shin is parallel to the ceiling. Imagine you got a pint of Guinness on your shin. Do not let your heels drop. So keep those heels lifted, even when you kick the leg towards that left-hand side of the room. So we're not going to full extension and we're not going up at a 45-degree angle to the IT band. We're just doing hip mobility here. Yes. Let's do 4. And 3. Kick that leg across. Last 2. And last one. Bring it back into center. Let's open up the left side of the body. So let's hook the left foot into the band. You can stay on the floor and start from this position. It is a little bit more difficult to do a roll up from the lie down position because your body is, it's not used to the movement just yet. So when we're on the floor, again, you're trying to see if you can get the length of your band so that your elbows touch the floor. Let's do our 6 sways here. So swing the leg out to the side and all the way across your body. And the first one is always the tightest. So we're just trying to warm up these muscles gently. Good. Do 3. And 2, keep the abdominals gently pulled in. 1, bring it to center. Now inhale, lift your head, look at your belly button. Exhale, use your leg, swing the leg down to pull you up. But don't use that second to push out your abdominals. Pull in that little bit more. Hamstring stretch. Inhale, lift the spine, lift that leg. Now exhale, look at the tummy muscles. See if you can keep the tummy muscles down, away from the t-shirt, all the way down to the mat. Sway the legs from side to side. And this is really good for those hips. And again, when your hips are loosened up, your lower back has more mobility as well and less pressure on that spine. Last 2. 1, bring it to center. Inhale, lift those heads. Exhale, press through the band, pull the tummy muscles in. And again, you should be able to hold your belly button in better because you've got assistance from these bands. So let's lift the spine, look down at the abdominals, roll down. Now see if you can control it. Don't collapse. Get every single vertebrae to touch the mat one at a time. Elbows to the ground and sway your legs from side to side. Now, if you're right-handed, this left leg should feel extra tight in comparison to the right leg and vice versa. We're going to do 2 more. 1 more. Bring it back to center. Lift the head. Prepare. Pull the tummy muscles down. Exhale. Push that foot into the band. Peel the vertebrae off the mat. Pull on the band. Stretch out those hamstrings. Inhale. Lift that leg up to the ceiling. We're going to do 2 more on this side. You're going to exhale. Come down to the spine with control. So this is the abdominal part. Sway the leg. And this is your mobility part for your hips and the posterior chain, your hamstrings, and that lower back. Last 2. 1. Bring it to center. Inhale, lift the head. Now watch the belly button. Exhale, press down and use the tummy muscles. You can do this and push out your abdominals, but all you're doing is you're thickening your abdominal wall. Okay, so let's try it. So let's lift the leg up. Now look at the belly button and see if you can do the exercise by pulling in. It's a lot harder, but it's really good for the abdominals. Now let's do this 6 ways again. Let's do 6, 5, 4, nice and gentle for 3. Don't force it. 2, and on your last one, land over on that right hand side. So remember, this is the left leg. The IT band is super tight and it's usually pulled in across the back of the hamstrings for a lot of people. So into that biceps femoris, right in there is very, very tight. Your heel bone, point your heel bone at that far wall or where the wall and the ceiling meet. Hold that position and breathe. Now, wiggle your toes, wiggle your feet. So imagine your foot is a hand and you're waving your hand. And that softens to the calf muscles and it softens into the back of the knees and hopefully down the back of the hamstrings into that hip. And let's do 4, 3, 2, 1. Bend your knee into the chest. Now this is where we do the hip mobility. So grab the 2 ends of the bands together, pull it up to your right shoulder until you feel that left hip opening. And then we're going to kick out and across to 45 degrees. It's not supposed to be intense. This is just to mobilize those hips. So we're going to kick across. You don't have to pull too hard on these bands. Gently pull it in towards your shoulder. Press across to open. Check your hip is okay with that movement. If you feel it clicking or clunking, go lower with that leg. Don't point it up towards that ceiling. So let's do 4 of these. Pressing across. Bend the knee to open. For 3. Send that hip over, send that leg across the body. Last 2. And then last one, bend the knee into the chest. So now imagine your shin is parallel to the ceiling. You got your little point begin sitting up there on the shin. Keep a hold of the band and instead of kicking up at an angle, kick across to that wall. And it's only a small movement. Keep the shin parallel. So you're not going up with the shin. You're not going down with the shin. I want you to kick across, keeping that shin parallel to the ceiling. And it's really good for that outer hip. Good. And you're not going to full straight knee. You're just moving that leg across. Do 4 and 3 and 2 and 1. Bring it back into center. Drop that leg down. Now we're still on hip mobility, so stay where you are. And I want you to go back to the right leg and we're going to do full circles with the right leg. So hook your right foot into that band. Now, I'm going to straighten out my left leg as well. So I'm going to get you to stay in that position. Everyone's in there. Perfect. Now, you're going to use the band for the work. Your arm does everything, not your leg. Okay, so hold the band. I kind of, you play around, but you can start with your right hand. You might not like it with the right. You can swap with the left. Just play around with your movement. But what we're going to do is we're going to go across the body first. And that's usually the nasty area. Then you lower the leg down. And this is where you play with the length of your band. It might be too short. You got to do a full hip circumduction. You're using the arms to pull that leg up and go across the body. Now I'm swapping it to my left hand to see if that's a better grip. You can try that. Left hand to right leg. Swing that leg full circle. So imagine your toes are drawn big circles out and around. Now when you pull up in the band, you're going to feel your tight fibers on those hamstrings. Now, this is one direction, obviously, but when we go in the opposite direction, the pulling action might be different and you mightn't feel, like say here on the right-hand side, that's where I'm feeling a little bit of a pull to the back of the hamstrings. When I go in the opposite direction, I might not feel it because I'm lowering rather than pulling up. So now let's do one more big circle and then we're going to do it in the opposite direction. Now, again, you're still working those shoulders. So go in the opposite direction now. Lower the leg down. Remember, the leg does no work. The band does everything. Cross the body. It's really important to cross that body and lower down. So again, when you're going in one direction, you might feel it on a certain part of the hamstring. When you go in the opposite direction, you might not feel it at all. So let's do 4 more big circles. That's it, out and around. You're just warming up that hip joint, all the muscles connected to that hip. Last 3. Nice and slow. We're not forcing anything. Last 2. Good. And then one more time. Big circle out and around. Check that hip is okay. As you circle, bring it back up to 12 o'clock. So lift that leg up. Now let's swap the legs. So just take your left foot up in beside that right foot and drop the right leg down. Now straight away, that might be almost too tight for your left hamstring, even though we just stretched out the hamstrings. So again, I like to do opposite hand to opposite leg. Go across the body first into the IT band, biceps for more stretch. And then you lower down. And again, adjust the length of your band. You're trying to scrape your foot as close to the ground as you can. Okay, when you go across the body, it's not going to scrape the ground, but you're just aiming to scrape the ground on that left side. And you swing it up and around. This is definitely not fast. This is slow enough that you can read your hips, you can read your hamstrings. Definitely when I was pulling on that right leg, I felt really high up in the hamstrings, super, super tight. But this side, fine. I have no clicks, I have no clunks, I have no, strains or anything on these hamstrings. It's quite nice. And this is really good for lower backs, guys. Even though this is hip mobility, your lower back is going to love this. Do 2 more big circles. And again, your arm does the work, your leg does no work. Pull on that band to lift that leg up. And that's it. 1 more big circle out and around, because your hips are designed for full circumduction here. Now let's reverse those circles. So same thing, your pulling action is different. Your fibers being stretched in different, areas. There's going to be different when you change the direction of the pull. So let the leg be support with the band. Let the leg do no work when you're pulling up. You're using that arm, using that bicep. I know your shoulders are feeling it. But let's do 3 more big circles. Out and around. Go all the way down. Scrape that floor. Cross the leg. And again, just check when you cross the leg. Now when I'm crossing the leg, I can definitely feel a bit in my hip. Nothing in my hamstrings, but my hip. Last big circle, up and around. And then slowly bring it back into center. Drop that leg down. So your hips should be nice and loose. So let's do a little bit of activation on those hips. So we're going to go hip flexors first, and then we're going to go glutes second. All right. So this is simple. All I'm going to get you to do is bend your right knee to tabletop. Okay. Now straighten your left leg out. Your objective here is to keep your hip bones pointing up towards the ceiling. And you got to imagine there's a pen sticking out the top of your knee. Now what I want you to do is I want you to circle around without the bands. Obviously you're circling out and around and rolling that knee back up towards the ceiling. So I want to see if you can do this and not move your hip bones. So I can do this and swing the leg around. My hips just roll from left to right. I want you to imagine your hip bones are pointing up to the ceiling. I want you 3 more circles and not move those hips around. Keep your hips pointing up to the ceiling. 2 more. Nice and gentle. Just listen to your hips. Mine's clunking. Last one. And then reverse. But now reverse is slightly harder. I'm going to try get you to straighten that leg out this time on the reverse circles. So do 4 circles with the leg straight. Now if that's too intense, you're going to bend that knee. So maybe if you come up to center, you can bend the knee and then straighten that leg out. If you want to do that version, that's fine. You can bend the knee as you come up, because that's quite tough on those hip flexors. So we're going to do 2 more. That's it. 1 more circle. You're going to notice it's going to start turning into ovals. And then we drop that leg back down. So that is after firing up the hip now. So let's do the other side. So we start in tabletop. We'll do our circles in tabletop, and then we'll challenge it on the next direction. So butt cheeks glued to the mat. And I want you to circle out and around. Make sure, again, I'm going to exaggerate and I'm going to roll the pelvis. And I can do the circles and it looks brilliant, but the hips are all over the place. So I'm not actually using that hip movement. We're not using those little tiny muscles surrounding that hip head. So control it. Don't roll the hips. Keep your right bum cheek on that floor. Do 3 more. That's it. Don't roll off. Last 2. So your kneecap has that imaginary pen sticking out the top of it. Last 1. It's not too intense, it's just control. Now bring it back to center. So again, your adaptation is we're going to try straighten the leg out and you're going to go in the opposite direction. It's easy to go down with a straight leg. It's coming up with a straight leg is the challenge. So if you want to bend in tabletop when you're coming up, that's fine. Then you straighten, bend, tabletop. It's a nice adaptation, but again, you're activating all these muscles. Let's do 3. That's it, slow it down. 2 more big circles, and you got to really recruit those muscles to stabilize these hips. Last one. And then release those legs back down. Shake out those thighs. I know it's terrible on those hips. Bring your heels to your butt, but walk your heels outwards just a little bit to the edge of your mat. And then roll the knees to one side and press the shoulders back into the ground. So this is for hip mobility. So press the knees towards the floor. You might not be able to touch both knees to the ground, and that's fine. Do the same to your other side. Get those knees across and just stretch out that lower back for me. Now, bring it back to center. And what you're going to do is you're going to have your feet out to the edge of your mat. Stay there with your feet. And then just roll your knees. So you're flopping one knee in towards the center. So you're flopping that knee down. Again, another little hip mobility exercise. We're all about the hips today, if you haven't figured that out. And you're just trying to roll the knees into center. Nice and gentle. Do 4. And just check your pelvis for 3. Check any tightness across the hip lines. It's 2. Last 1, and bring it back into center. All right, so let's work on those glutes. Now, I find my mat is not sticky enough, so I'm going to take my socks off for this one. We're going to do a bridge, but I'm going to give you the 2 options for bridges. So bridge, single leg, you can hook your right ankle to left knee to do your single leg bridge, which is great. It just supports you a little bit better. The advanced version is straight leg, so the right leg straightens out. Now, when we do this one, you have to lift your butt and your calf at the same time. So I don't want to see this. I don't want to see your butt's coming up first and then your leg second, or your leg coming up first and then your butt second. Has to be together. Okay, so this is the advanced version. You lift up till your 2 kneecaps touch, no further. You have to really use these stomach muscles. If you touch your stomach, it's fired up because your hips have to stay level. And then you come back down, calf and butt at the same time. All right, are you ready? So either hook the ankle or straight leg. Exhale, press yourself up into bridge. So again, if you're doing the straight leg, 2 kneecaps touch, and then you inhale, exhale, come back down, and your calf and your butt touch the ground at the same time, or thereabouts. Inhale to prepare, exhale, lift. Push with your toes and your heels. Inhale, exhale, come down. Good, let me see it. So drive those hips up. So if I switch off my stomach, my hip naturally drops off to the side. And I have, like, if I'm holding something on my stomach, it just rolls off the edge. So imagine your stomach is fired up. So the hip bones are pointing up the ceiling as you lift up. It's a lot harder. And then you come back down. If it's too intense, put that ankle on top of the knee and just continue lifting the hips level. And then come back down. You'll still feel that left hip working. So we're going to do 2 more. Now lift the butts off the ground. So lift up, squeeze, inhale, exhale, come back down. Good. Last one, stay up here. Hold that position. Good, hold it there. Now, the guys who have hooked the ankle to the knee, I don't think anyone has. Oh, good. Everyone straightens that leg out. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to bring your butt down to 1 inch off the floor, but your butt doesn't touch the ground. Hold it there. Straight leg. You're going to lower the straight leg, lift the straight leg, but your butt is still off the ground. So that left hip has not switched off yet. You should be feeling that lovely burning sensation. Neck muscles are nice and long. No tension in the face. Do 4. Sit pretty straight. That's all we're doing. Last 2. Keep the butt off the ground. Last one. Oh, that's nasty. Drop back down onto the floor. Release those legs. I know everything is absolutely burning, even the inner thighs. When you do that straight leg bridge, the inner thighs have to stabilize, okay? So this one's good for the stomach muscles. You should feel it here on your TVA, on the side of your waist. All right, so think hip bones pointing up to the ceiling. Press through your heels and your toes. You're going to exhale as you lift first. So exhale, lift. Take a breath in. Exhale, come back down. So it's much slower. You have to really control the movement. So push through your heels. Exhale, really fires up the glutes and hamstrings. Exhale as you come back down. Inhale, exhale, lift. Kneecaps touching. Inhale, exhale, come back down. Good. Feel the stomach muscles firing up. So you're going to exhale, lift up. Inhale, exhale. Come back down. If it gets too much, gets too intense, just hook that left ankle to the right knee and just do a few sets with that supported leg. Good. We're going to do 2 more because this is super intense. Exhale, lift. Inhale. Exhale, come back down. Now think about the hip bone staying level. So you have to recruit those 2 muscles. Last one. Lift up, exhale, hold that position. Good. Now, whoever's hooking the knee, straighten that leg out. Now bring your butts down to 1 inch off the floor. Hold it there, hover. Straight leg, that left leg. Let's go down and up. That's all we're going to do. We're just going to lift it up to knee height. This right glute has not switched off. It's not touching the floor. And we're just going to lift and lower. Last 4. This is super tough on those legs for 3. That's it. 2 more. Keep the butts off the ground. That's it. 1 more time. Oh, slightly dead. Drop those legs back down and just shake it out. Beat the legs back to life. And then bring your heels in. So hip mobility again. Heels in, heels out to the edge of your mat. And just flap 1 knee into center. And then the other. And just let those hips loosen back up because that was super, super tough on those legs. Nice and gentle. All right, so we're going to come up and over nice and gentle. So grab your knees, don't throw yourselves up, but just try come up and over onto all 4s for me. All right, so we're going to still work on the hips and glutes. We're going to recruit slightly different muscles. We're going to do Superman. Now remember, this is the normal Superman where we take 1 leg straight back and 1 arm forward. I want to eliminate, there's a muscle in the back of your hamstrings here called the adductor magnus. I want to eliminate that muscle today. So we're just isolating the glutes. So when we take the leg off, stay to me. When we take the legs off, instead of bringing the legs straight back, I want you to take the leg out to the side. Now, I have a tendency, I do it, everyone else does it, the toes come out like Charlie Chaplin. I want the toes to point down towards the floor, and then your other hand goes outwards to stabilize. For 5 seconds, you'll feel it right across your back, and you'll feel it on these tummy muscles, these external obliques here, and then we change, okay? So glance down at your foot. So when you take your foot out to the side, curl your toes down to the floor, pause, lift the hand, brace the stomach, and hold for 5 seconds, a slow 5 seconds, and then you change, okay? So exhale out, extend the arm, yes, and you'll notice your balance really has to fire up on this one, and then you change from side to side. So let me see. Good, now keep the toes pointing down towards the floor, Nikki, yes. And I have to do the same thing, I have to look down and tell my leg to turn down. Good, keep breathing into the nose, out to that mouth. Yes, check which side do you wobble on more. That's it. Good, nice, controlled movements. Do you find you have a weaker side? Check which side is better. That's good. Do 4 more for me, guys. Nice and slow. Let me see. Good. And do the advanced version. Same hand, same leg. Nice and gentle. Good. Now we really feel those 2 muscles kicking in. It's quite a tough one. And then release those legs back down. So give it a little rest. Sit back into child pose. We're going to go legs only this time to check if your shoulders are nice and stable. So little wiggles from side to side in child pose. And then come up into box position again. Now just do legs only. So same thing, I'm going to look for the foot not turning out like Charlie Chaplin. I want the toes turned down to work a specific part of the glutes, okay? So you're going to go out to the side on your right leg only. So right leg goes out to the side, hold it there, and your foot is off the edge of the mat. You're going to recruit into those lower back muscles across the thoracolumbar fascia, and that's fine. Now I want you to tip your toes to the floor and then lift out there. That's it. Tip the toes to the floor and then lift out there. And that's all we're doing. We're just recruiting the outer hip and glute. And we're not using, as I said, that long inner thigh muscle, the adductor magnus, which can cause a lot of back pain because it gets super switched on, super tight. So let's do 4. Exhale, press it out. And again, the foot is off the edge of that mat. For 3, the toes are pointing straight down. For 2, and then last one, hold it out there, hold that position. Now, turn your toes. See the difference when you turn your toes out like Charlie Chaplin? It works slightly different in the hip joint. Pull the knee towards this elbow and then press out Charlie Chaplin. Good. So knee toward your elbow. Don't let your spines move. So I don't want to see you tucking and rounding just yet. So stabilize the core, stabilize the spine. Do 4 of these. Press out to the side. For 3, press right out. Good. Last 2. Pushing out. And then last one. And lower that knee onto the floor for a second. Shake out the wrist. So we're going to do the same on that left side. I'm going to turn this way so I have more room. So get yourselves back into box position. Now, if you're like me and you've weak wrists, it just irritates your wrist sometimes, press your knuckles into the floor. So imagine you're pressing your rings down into the ground, and it'll keep your wrist neutral. So the left leg comes back and out to the side. Now again, start with your toes down. We're not going to work those external rotators. Watch your foot. And then you're just going to slowly lift from there, squeezing that butt, and then lower. So exhale, toes pointing down towards the floor. And you're not twisting your shoulders. You're trying to keep your shoulders stable. You're going to recruit into the thoracolumbar fascia, into that lower back, but you're also going to recruit this external oblique on that left side. So exhale, press. Don't let your lower backs arch. Don't let your heads move. Nothing else moves. Do 4. Push, sit. For 3, and your foot is completely off the edge of that mat. Last 2. And then on your last one, hold it up there. Now we do Charlie Chaplin. So turn the toes out to the side, and then we pull the knee in towards the elbow, press the leg back and squeeze. So knee to the elbow. And if you stay looking down, say at the mat, you're less likely to twist the edge of that spine, okay? You're not kind of bringing yourself towards that knee. So keep your body steady as you pull that knee to your elbow, press back. Do 4, knee to elbow, press back and squeeze that butt for 3. Now think about squeezing the butt as you send it back. Last 2. Oh, it's burning. Last 1. Oh, and release back down. Wiggle those hips from side to side. That was a tough little set. So get the foreheads down, get your ribs down to your thighs, and just kind of wiggle your ribs from side to side. So you're in child pose, but you're rocking your rib cage from left to right. Nice and gentle. Now we're going to open up the spine. This is a nice one. We're going to do our little, it's called treading the needle. We come into our box position and we take the left hand, and we'll do it on the pace of the breath. Left hand under the right, and we touch the shoulder and the head to the ground. You're just looking at that end wall. Then you bring it back into center. You inhale and center. Exhale, twist through. Come down. Good. Inhale to center. Exhale, twist through, and just read along your back again, and just check, is it, tighter on that left rotation? Is it tighter on the right? And just check where it's tight. Is it the lower back? Right now, it's my low back where the spine and the pelvis meets, and I'm just trying to get that area to open up, not force it. We're not trying to gain flexibility. We're just trying to mobilize that spine. Nice and gentle. Do another 4, and we're going to pause on the last 2. I'm going to do 3 more. Exhale, twist through. Inhale, back to center. This is the one we hold. So twist through and hold. Get your shoulder and head to rest on the floor now. So put your little bit of body weight down onto your shoulder and your head. The hand that's in front of your face, that's the hand you take off the floor, and you try wrap it around your lower back. Good. And just hold it for a second. Just read again along your spine, which area is tight. Can you get your shoulder out of the way? Can you look up towards the ceiling? Breathe into the nose, out to the mouth. 1 more big breath in. And then we unravel out of this position, back into box position. We do the other side. So take a deep breath in. And then twist through. Send your shoulder down to that mat. Drop your head down onto the floor. Just pause for a second. Take the hand that's in front of your face. Wrap that around your lower back and just listen to your spine. Check your tight areas. Which area is caught? Is your shoulder? Is it your back? Is it your ribs? Is it your head? Can you turn your head to look up towards the ceiling? Take 2 deep breaths in and out. 1 more big breath in. Relax your spine on the exhale, and then bring it back into center. Lovely. All right, guys, roll onto your sides facing towards me. This is just to continue with that spinal rotation. So we're going to do a lot of mobility today. Tuck your knees up to the edge of your mat, and your shins are parallel to the edge of your mat. Now your objective is to keep your kneecaps together. We're going to be putting the heads on the floor. This is called open the book for those who don't know this one. This is lovely for the back area. So you're going to be opening the book, but if your head is struggling to get down to the floor, get a cushion, put it behind your head. We're going to be turning the head. So I want your heads in contact with the floor. So 2 hands together like a prayer. They look like a prayer. You're going to inhale, lift the top hand up to the ceiling. Now turn your head to follow this hand. Exhale, roll it back behind you and see if you can touch the floor without separating these knees. Inhale up to the ceiling. Exhale, close that book. I'm going to scoot a little bit further forward. So you're going to inhale, roll the head, roll the hand up. Exhale, roll the hand back. Inhale. Now again, just listen to your back. Listen to the rest of your body. Do your knees separate when your hands go back? How far can your hands go back? Exhale, turn your head. See if you can turn your head to look at the hand. And a lot of people lose that neck mobility as well. It's not flexibility, it's mobility of your cervical spine. Exhale as you close the book. Now, fill up your lungs. Inhale. Exhale, deep exhale. And it relaxes your spine better. Inhale. Exhale. And let your stomach relax. And I'm always saying pulling your abdominals. Let your stomach relax out here when you inhale. Exhale. So let your belly button just fall out on the inhale. And exhale. Do another 2. So you're going to inhale up to the ceiling. Exhale all the way back. If you get lightheaded, just don't do as deep a breath. Inhale to the ceiling. Exhale, close the book. And again, your kneecaps are together. Last one. Inhale, roll the arm up, turn the head. Exhale. Inhale up to the ceiling. And exhale, close that book. Put your hands together gently and just relax your shoulders, relax your spine, your ribs, your neck, and your pelvis just kind of sinks into that mat. Hardest part is rolling to the other side. So are you ready? Grab those knees, come up and over. Do the other side. So now doing the exact same thing. I want you to tuck your knees up. Make sure you have plenty of room behind you. And again, this side of your neck might be, stiffer and tighter than the other side. So get a cushion behind your head if you have to. 2 hands together like a little book, little prayer. And you're going to start to keep the knees together as you roll the top hand up. Inhale, fill up your lungs. Exhale, bring that arm back. Now compare this side to the last. Inhale, up to the ceiling. Exhale, close the book. Check how far back you can roll this arm. Inhale up. Exhale. Inhale up to the ceiling. Exhale, close the book. So if there is a difference between this right and left side, that's the problem. There's imbalance in the muscles. One side of your spine or part of your rotators are short and tight. And then when you do these kind of tests, you realize how bad, say, your left side is in comparison to the right. And you're walking around and you're exercising with one side shorter than the other. And something's going to wear out. So we're just trying to create a little bit of balance, a little bit of symmetry to the body when we do this. You're not going to fix everything, but it's going to make it a little bit easier. Do 2 more. Inhale, fill up your lungs. Let your stomach relax. Exhale. Inhale up. Exhale, close that book. 1 more time. Inhale. And exhale, turn your head. Look at that hand. Last big breath. Inhale, fill up your lungs. Exhale, close that book and just settle the spine onto that mat. No tension. Relax your ribs, relax your hips, relax your shoulders, relax your cervical spine. Your head is relaxed onto that mat. And then slowly roll onto your backs. Curl your knees up into your chest. Bring your heads up to your knees. So you're getting a little bit of a spinal stretch. And then start to massage just your lower back. Do a small little rocking action first. Then increase it by rolling like a ball if your spine is okay with that one. So again, from shoulders to tailbone, up onto the tailbone. Now again, use your breath. You're going to inhale as you come up. Exhale, release. Inhale, up. Exhale, release. Now, if you feel comfortable, you can progress into your rollovers where you place your hands onto the floor, stretch out the hamstrings just for a second and roll back up. And again, you don't even have to put your hands on the floor if you're mad fit. You can grab those legs and you can do your little stretch like this. And that's actually quite nice on the spine. But if you want to keep your hands on the floor and roll over, that's fine. If you want to keep your hands on your ankles and roll like a ball, that is perfect. Do 3 more, guys, at your pace. If you're doing rollovers, obviously it's going to be a little bit slower. Last 2. And the rollover is good to stretch out, say, the posterior chain, the hamstrings, the calves, the hips again. Last one. And then roll back down onto that mat. Do a low back stretch, 1 big one. Straighten out the right leg, pull in the left knee. And again, this is another rotator stretch. Grab that left knee and roll it all the way over to that right hand, side. Get the knee to the floor first. That's what I want to see, knee on the ground. This is a comparison stretch as well. So left hand to the ceiling, left hand goes back behind your shoulder blades just to see how far your arm goes back. And right now, my left side is seized up and I cannot get my hand to the floor. Now just pause there for a few seconds because it takes a little bit of kind of relaxing and releasing to maybe sink the hand down another centimeter to an inch. So breathe into the nose, out to the mouth. Don't lift the knee to get the hand to the floor. We're just comparing. So remember how far back you can reach. Maybe turn your head to see if you can look at the hand. Don't just guess where it is. And then we pull it back into center. So as we roll back into center, we're going to pull both knees in just to keep the lumbar spine stretched just a little bit. Then we straighten out the left leg and we grab that right knee. And this is just comparing. Get your knee to the floor first. So roll completely onto your side. Take the right hand up to the ceiling and then reach it back. Now there, my hand touches the floor, so I'm not even balanced. I've been walking around in circles for days, I reckon. So you'll see the difference. If your hand is maybe even an inch further back from the other side, that's going to play up along your hips, into your spine, even down as far as your knees. So we're just trying to create a little bit of balance. Deep breath in. And then exhale, bring it back into center, guys. Now let's grab those spikies. Now we're going to do the deep spiky release on those hips. We're going to do it seated, upright, because they get right in. Because if we keep doing it lying down, sure, it'll be too easy on you, and we don't want that. So if you sit upright, maybe fix the hair, and you're going to sit on your two little spikies. All right, so get nice and comfortable. Now we're going to start with the two spikies, but you only need one. So you get comfortable, your two spikies to the outer hip, and all you're doing is you're testing. You're going to go from the right hip all the way over to the left hip. And just check which is sore, which may be a little bit tighter. And then we're going to go right into those hips. So I'm going to go over onto the right side. So over into the right hip. And I want you to not have your knees pointing up to the ceiling. I want your knees pointing at 45 degrees to the right. And then you go up and down along your spikies. Now I want you to move. I want you to start to draw circles with your hips. So go out and around on that hip joint just to identify the tight little areas. Good. Now I want you to go to that area where you find there's a little bit of tension there. I want you to, because we levitate, I want you to put your weight down onto that spiky and then just find your sore spot. Just relax your face there, Eva, for a second there. Just go to your happy place. And then chuck your right heel on top of your left knee. And that opens up the rotators in your hips. Now again, don't lift up, actually push down if you can bear it and just sit there. Do absolutely nothing. If you're on your trigger point, sit there. If you're not, move around just a little bit more and find that trigger point and just kind of push your body weight down into it. And that is a trigger point release. Doing absolutely nothing is a trigger point release. Moving is cross fiber friction, and that's fine. Oh, that's painful. But just hold it for a few more seconds for 3, 2, 1, and then release. Let's do the other side. So again, one hip might be worse than the other. And we're doing a test first. So we're going to point the knees off to the left. We go up and down initially like this. And then we start to draw circles out and around. And you're finding those sore spots. And you might notice the left hip is worse than the right or vice versa. Now, go to the kind of sensitive area. Don't push yourself up. So again, locking the elbows is, pushing yourself up. Bend your elbows and sink down onto that spike and just hold it. And if it's not too painful or not too much to ask, throw your left heel on top of that right knee. Opens up your hip. Now you don't have to move. If you've already landed on your trigger point, don't even move, okay? Because when we start to move, we go, oh, that's not too bad. Sink into that trigger point, okay? Just push into it, hold it. Dig your body weight down into that spike, and that's your trigger point release. Let it melt into the muscle. Nod your head slightly towards your shin to open up the hip for 3. Oh, I'm just off it there. 2, 1. Oh, that is painful. And release back down. Now, we're going to do a slightly different area. We're going to go glute medius this morning, okay? All I want you to do is take your spiky, straighten out your right leg, or whichever leg it is, but you're going to go, say, the top of your trousers, top of your leggings, that kind of area, top of your hip, okay? It's not your love, well, it is your love handles, it's not your waist, okay? It's still on the side of your pelvis, and it's not your hip joint. So when you wiggle your foot and you see your hip joint wiggling, that's not the area, it's above that area. Then you just roll onto your side on top of that spiky. 97% of people are sore on this little area. So it doesn't have to be the right leg, or you can do your left leg, makes no odds, but I'm just positioning you into that, I found a trigger point, position you on top of that glute medius. Now, I like to come up onto the elbow just so I have a little bit of maneuverability on this one. And that way I can kind of wiggle back and I can wiggle forward. Okay, so your glute medius is like a little kind of crescent moon shape of a muscle. It's just at the top of the pelvis. And this one is one of the most important kind of glute muscles. It does a lot of work. It's not strength, it's stability. So every time you take a single step and you take one foot off the floor, this glute medius has to fire up to keep your hip bones level, keep your pelvis level. And if it's not working, this low back muscle, this QL from your hip to your ribs, that one has to do its job, and the glute medius's job, and it wears out that area. And that's where the lower back pain can be coming from. So if you're sore right now, it means your glute medius has not been working. Now, while we're here, we might as well travel slightly forward to the top of your thigh and hip into your TFL. So see if you can maneuver around to the top of your thigh into your TFL, because they're both really closely related, glute medius and TFL. Usually one is not functioning right, and then it makes the other one not function right. So move around that hip joint. So you're going to go very top of your hips. Remember, pain is your friend. It tells you that there's something wrong. Very gently, it tells you there's something wrong. So if you find I'm definitely more sore in the glute medius, or I'm definitely more sore at the top of the thigh into that TFL, stay on that sore area and just breathe. Now, like last time, we did just body weight sinking down onto it. Same thing. Oh, just sink down. Try maybe take your elbow out, lean into it as best you can. Oh, I can't even get down to the floor. And just breathe for a few seconds, because the trigger point won't release quickly. It's done slowly. Depends how long you've had it as well. 3, 2, 1, to the other side. That is so painful. Did she knock it over? She did. All right. Now let's take the spiky to the other hip. So again, if you're going for the glute medius first, and we're going to go to the top of the hip bone. Now this is the top of my pelvis, the rim of the pelvis. It's just nestled in there. And that's all you're going to do. And then you roll onto your side till it feels like someone's stabbing you from beneath. All right, so that is the sore spot. This leg is definitely worse. I'm going to come up onto the elbow just for control and maneuverability. The leg that you're on is obviously straight initially, and you just wiggle around just a small bit if you find your sore spot. Now again, when we're up on the elbow, you're levitating. You're actually taking the weight off that glute medius. So every now and then, just pause and just sink down onto it. Sweet Lord, that is painful. And again, you might think, I don't feel any pain in the hips when I'm doing exercises, so it's not my problem area. You generally don't. It's only when someone tells you to stick a spike in there, you realize how bad you actually are. So, did you mouth a bad word there, Nikki? Slowly work it into your TFL. So the TFL, let's say, is the top of the thigh. That's a kind of a general area. So I'm going to get you to roll towards the top of the thigh and then roll it back to that glute medius. That is burning. Burning is good. Burning is the fascia kind of resetting itself as well. So it's kind of nice. So I want you to pick whether your glute medius is the painful area or the TFL is your painful area. Oh, I have to say that's quite sensitive there. That is the area you're going to sit on, the one that's sore. And then you have to just relax. I know it's easier said than done to relax when you're in pain, but just try and sink into that spiky for 3, 2, 1, and release, drop off those spikies. So now we're going to do upper back. So get your 2 spikies up between those shoulder blades into those rhomboids. Okay, so you're going to have the 2 spikies kind of touching together this time, touching off each other. You can have the arms across your chest and you can just wiggle from side to side, or put your hands behind your head, lift your hips, and roll yourself up and down along your spiky. Nice and gentle. Now, if you're rolling up and down, you're able to find kind of other problem areas. You're not just sitting in the same spot every single time. Or if you're on the floor and you're wiggling from side to side, you're just going to release the same area. So maybe shift your body weight up and down to a slightly different area, to surrounding tissue, and you might realize that you've got other areas that are sore. Not that I'm trying to put you in any more pain, but definitely it's discovering problem areas. So up and down slowly. And when you do find a sore area, that's what I want you to concentrate on. I want you to push into that sore area. And then we're going to work it into that upper trapezius muscle. So we're going to drop down, maybe push the spikies or just wiggle down a little bit further and bring the spikies up there to the kind of the meaty part of your shoulders, and just press in and initially see which side is tighter. And then take the arms to the ceiling, take the hips up into bridge, Rock the arms from side to side. Maybe feel the pressure across the sinuses, across your cheeks, across your eyes. And then we inhale, take those arms back behind your head. Exhale towards your belly button. Inhale, arms back. Exhale towards your belly button. Now do one more, and then I'm going to show you how to go a little bit deeper on this little area. Exhale, sink your spines down to the floor. Drop your hips. Now I want you to reach underneath, take your left spiky out. So take out the left one, keep the right one in that upper trapezius. Now if this gets too sore, just keep your hips on the floor. But I want you to try shoulder bridge up just a little bit. So lift the hips so you're pinning that upper trapezius with that spiky. Now take your right arm up, reach the right arm back as if you're trying to touch the floor above your head, and then reach the right arm across to touch the left hip pocket. Yes. So imagine you're putting on your seatbelt. Inhale, the arms goes back. Exhale, reach across. And it gets in a little bit deeper to that trapezius muscle. And when you bring the arm across the body, it kind of pulls the scapula up and pulls the different fibers up. Now really reach that arm across the hip pocket. That's the important one. Do two more. Pause for a second when you touch that pocket. One more. Pause on the hip pocket and hold it there for a few seconds. Just press for 3, for 2, for 1. Now sink your vertebrae back down and release. Take that spiky over to that left hand side. All right, so it's on that left upper trapezius, right hand's on the floor. And again, if it's too sore, drop your hips back down, but try do a little shoulder bridge. So just tuck your butt up off the ground. Left hand goes up, left hand goes behind your head, left hand to right hip pocket. Now pause at the hip pocket for a second, just to address and kind of be aware of all those tight tissues. And it's really, really tight. It's usually tighter on one side, more so than the other. But if you're suffering from migraines and headaches, it's coming a lot of time from this trapezius being super tight. So do two more. Inhale, arms go back. Exhale, touch the hip and pause for a second. One more time. And again, pause at your hip pocket for a second and then slowly sink your spines back down to that mat. Gently take those spikies out and we're going to push the spikies up to your neck. So we're going to use one spiky in at the back of your neck. And I want you to take the other spiky and place it somewhere along maybe your ribs, low back, hips, glutes, whatever you want, finding that trigger point that's always been kind of catching you the most. Okay, so with your head, you're going to wiggle your head from side to side and you still just have that other spiky sitting in against that tight tissue somewhere along your back, maybe your hips, maybe your glutes. Nod your heads up and down. So if your right side of your neck is tighter than your left, nod your head on the right side. That's it. Now draw circles out and around. So moving your head in circular motion. Releasing all that pressure. And reversing those circles. And then push that single spiky, that one spiky, up higher to the base of your skull. Now the same thing, you're going to try wiggle from side to side as if you're drawn a straight line across your occipital ridge, across the base of your skull. Nice and gentle. Nod your heads up and down. And with your heads, draw circles out and around. Just releasing all that pressure in there. And draw circles in the opposite direction. Nice and easy. Now let's take the two spikies out. Drop your heads to the floor. Now roll the spikies over the sides and top of your head, relaxing your legs down onto that mat. Draw circles through your temples. Now just a little bit of pressure as you draw your circles. Draw circles on your cheekbones. Down across your jaw. Down across your chin. Under your neck. And right down onto your chest. Roll the spiky across your chest, your shoulders and your ribs, releasing that pressure and tension. And then slowly bring the spikies up into your neck. Roll across the sides of your neck into your jawline. Across those cheekbones. Over your temples. Over your forehead. And then circle to the top and sides of your head, releasing that pressure. Take the spikies in your hands, take your hands down by your sides and take a deep breath in, squeeze, tense up every muscle in the body. As you exhale, relax your feet, legs, hips, shoulders, arms, and release those spikies.